Mr. Parsons, a well-dressed and successful man, was walking down the busy city street on a bright, clear morning. The sun was shining, casting long shadows on the sidewalk, and a cool breeze drifted through the air. He walked confidently, his silver-topped cane tapping the pavement rhythmically as he passed store windows reflecting the hustle and bustle of the city. As he turned a corner, a blind beggar appeared, dressed in ragged, dirty clothes. His face was worn and scarred, and he held a shabby tin cup in one hand while the other gripped a cane, guiding his unsteady steps. His eyes, clouded and empty, gave no sign of life. "Help a poor blind man, sir," the beggar called out, his voice heavy with emotion. As Mr. Parsons drew closer, the beggar began to tell his story in a practiced, dramatic tone.
"I lost my eyes in a horrible accident at the factory where I worked. It was a chemical explosion. I'll never forget that day, the screams, the fire, the chaos. People ran for their lives. And in the middle of it all, a man selfish and cruel pushed me aside, leaving me to die while he escaped. That's how I became blind."
Mr. Parsons stopped, listening intently. The beggar's voice was thick with bitterness, his face a mask of suffering as he relived the moment.
"He didn't care about anyone but himself. I've been like this ever since, blind, poor, and forgotten."
Mr. Parsons stood quietly for a moment, taking in the story. The wind ruffled his neatly combed hair as he looked toward the beggar, a strange expression crossing his face. Then, with a calm and steady voice, he spoke. "Mr. Parsons, that was a terrible day indeed. But you see, I was there too."
The beggar froze, his face tightening with suspicion. His cloudy eyes, though blind, seemed to search for something in the air, trying to read the expression of the man before him. "Beggar, you were there."
Mr. Parsons nodded slowly. "Mr. Parsons, yes. I lost my sight in that same explosion. But I remember things differently. I don't recall pushing anyone out of the way. In fact, I remember quite the opposite. You tried to take my chance to escape. You were the one who acted selfishly."
The beggar's hand gripped his cane tightly, his posture stiffening as the truth slowly dawned on him. He had been telling his version of the story for so long that he never expected to meet someone who knew the truth, someone who had been there, who had lived through the same horror. His face turned pale, and he fell silent, unable to speak.
Mr. Parsons, still calm, offered a small, knowing smile. His eyes, too, were empty and sightless, yet they held a quiet strength. He nodded politely at the beggar, then continued on his way, his cane tapping the pavement as he walked off into the distance, leaving the beggar alone with his lies.